Hello everybody, hope you're having another blessed day. For today's video, we are back on the Yu-Gi-Oh card database as we continue our series of the Yu-Gi-Oh progression series as we go through and look at every single pack that was ever released in Yu-Gi-Oh for the TCG. And after we look at each pack, I'm going to share with you my top 5 favorite cards. Now, the top 5 favorite cards can be picked out of a matter of reasons, of either being really good or broken cards, or just cards I really was fond of when I first started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Because a lot of these first packs are ones I actually had when I first started playing the game just got started. Now, before I get into the video and talk about what my pack's going to be, do you have any suggestions you'd like me to change in these kind of videos? Be it you want to make decks based off of the packs, do duels with them, or change how I make my top 5 in any certain way, alright? So if you have any suggestions, leave them down in the comment section at this time. With that in mind, let's go and see what our next pack is going to be. So I was remembering, not into this stuff yet, but we did do, I think, the Pharaoh Guardian for the last time we did this, like a month ago. So our new pack is going to be the Magician's Force. Alright. So they have it pulled up in another tab, so let's jump into and see what comes out in this pack. Alright. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through a bunch of these, basically, because, I'm sure you don't want me to read every single gosh darn card. And also, I don't want to read every gosh darn card, because I will get freaking strep throat from saying that many words at a short amount of time. So I'm just going to scroll through here, but if a card that pops out, like, really interesting to me, I will probably stop and talk about why I think the card is pretty good. Alright? And after I get through all 108 cards, I kind of talk about what I think about this pack. Alright, so let's get into it. So it's going to scroll through. We've got some of the Amazonas cards, got that My Valentine support. Very interesting, but yeah, I never thought these cards were really that good. And you have some cool effects that your opponent takes the battle damage, or you take no battle damage from this card. So it's interesting, but not that good at all. Let's see here, Anti-Up. This card I do thought it was okay, but it isn't really. But basically, each player fills one card from the hand. If one card is a high level enemy monster, this card is low monster is sent to the graveyard, and the player who filled it takes 1,000 damage. So it's just a random burn card there. Never really was that good, but could be used in goats when you had those random maybe 2 troops and monsters, people trying to goof around with blue eyes, or had Jinzo or something like that. So it's card that could have been used for burn, but never was that good. Keep going. This random beast of a card, as far as insane, but actually is terrible. This card cannot attack in the same turns, nor summon or flip summon or special summon. And during each of you and your opponent's name phase, move one spell counter from the field, or destroy this card. Yeah, when I first opened up this card, when I first got this pack, I'm like, wow, this card is freaking broken. But it completely sucks, because even though it has 2,400 attack, it's just going to pop itself, because not a lot of decks back then played a lot of spell counters. Armist Action Unit, basically a quick spell that's used in a lot of like those Dark Warrior decks as one of the quick spells to send. Also because it can be an extender from your opponent's graveyard. Pretty good. Breaker, broken card in GOAT format. In case you didn't know, this card basically always starts out 1900 attack, and you can attach to one if it's spell counters, and pop one trail trap on the field. Pretty good. Keep it going. Chaos Command Magician, a good it's level 6 tribute summon for one monster, and basically negate the effect of monster this card that targets this one card. Not bad. No, this is basically a hard counter to like Man-Eater Bug back in the day, which I don't know if this card wasn't really legal when Man-Bug is actually a good card. But it's just something to keep in mind for those one target cards like Sark's Armor, Windbelt. Oh, that's his monster effect. Yeah, guess it's not really that good, but for those flip monster effects, it was pretty good for those. Alright. Okay. Dark Core. It's basically a -1 because play a card, discard a card, target monster, banish it. It's a -1, but it could be used because who really cared about -1s back in the day. Ooh, got the lost start of that one. I sold a ton of those for some profit. Demotion. I always am fond of this card, maybe because it's just such a weird card. Because look at it's just the most effective is downgrade the opponent's the monster equip this card by 2 levels. Downgrade. Who the hell says downgrade? Yeah, sorry to cuss, but that has not been worded or changed since it came out in 2005, 2006. So this is a weird card, but that's why I just love this card. It's just super weird because downgrade. It would be like reduce or lower your monster's level by 2, but no, they never stopped to change this card. It still says downgrade. Downgrade. Jeez. Mirror that from the episode anime. I can't remember what it was, but Gotta pop out those backward monsters after Yugi took out the guy who stole Obelisk, the Tormentor, the Shield, Owen Conrad, yada yada yada. I can't remember the episode, the guy's name, but you know what episode it was if you remember this card. Never really played ever again after that. Alright. Anything else interesting? That looks sketchy. Dokie, dokie. Anything cool? Gavin of Mine's a crappy card. Yeah, this is a crappy card. You can read it there correctly. One of the worst cards ever made, in my opinion. Giant Orc, a card that had this potential, because if it attacks, it changes the defense medicine to the end of the battle phase. You can't change back to the end of your next turn. So basically, yeah, it's not good, because basically it's stuck in the defense for basically 2 turns after attack. So that's kind of a definite downside. But hey, it's a 2200 card. You know, if you have some card effect that makes you stay in attack mode, we'll put it back to attack mode. Could see some use. Alright, keep it going. Keep it going. Kaiser Coliseum. Never come back. People says, oh, we can come back to 1. You can just shove it. Straight up. You think people hate, like, Inspector Board is still sometimes floodgates. This is basically Inspector Board. This is basically Inspector Board for any deck. Yeah, heck of this card. Screw you if you want this card back. Alright, keep it going. Luster Dragon, pretty strong normal summon monster back in GOAT format. 1900, that's pretty good. Magical Merchant, you know, good for GOAT control. Mill all those basic monsters. So you get to like your 1 card, like let's say Metamorphosis. Pretty good. Magical Scientist, filthy broken cards. A 1 card Needle Fiber still. So never coming back. OTK Burns or FTKs. Let's see. Anything else cool? No? Is this gonna be it? Huh? Poison of the old man cheese. Nice. Rivalry of a Warlord is out in this pack. And that's a card that I can still see play today's meta, because there are some decks that play more than 1 type of monster. So yeah. Even though this card was like the screw the whole board when your opponent had those extra link basically locking you to the board, all those nightmares and Firewall Dragon. This is like I after this card under this scoop because you just wiped them out. So that's still it's a pretty good card, honestly. So yeah, cool that this card was released all the way back then. Nice to see. Magical Library, only card you ever see nowadays for Exodia decks. Okay. Spell Canceller. This is like a really good tech card. It basically says spell cards and effects on the field cannot be activated. Integrate all spell cards on the field. Basically, it's like an Imperial Order but on legs. Alright, Tribe Effective Values, GOAT format. Shout out to you guys. Wave Motion Cannon. Mystic Mine, wants your number. So that's our first page of 100, and we have 8 more. So just go back to top. And basically it ends up with the XYZs and random zombie dagger. But yeah, they got the XYZs, the Dragon Cannon, Kaiba going to clap you. You never actually ever see like the XYZ Dragon Cannon or the Tank Cannon. I think I actually saw this one once, but all these other ones never really get used ever in the game. I feel like, or even the anime, which I always thought was kind of weird. It always goes into basically big boy or no boys. Yeah, there we go. That is all freaking 108 cards from this set. We looked at every single one of them. So now it is time for me to reveal my top 5 favorite cards. Now, before I reveal my top 5, what it's time for you to do is also leave your own top 5 in the comment section. So take a pause before I reveal mine. Talk about what your own top 5 favorite cards. So now that you release your own top 5 favorite cards from the set, it's time for me to share my own. So I'm going to tell you this right now. It has nothing to do with this page. So we need to jump back. No, don't look at a card. Thank you, card database. Don't want to look at that card. I want to skedaddle back. So let's get back to the first page. Alright, and my number 5 card is going to have something I actually used probably back before XYZ's a thing, right before the dawn of that. So let's say Synchros and Fusion era still. Alright, this is when I played my friend. I played my Volcanic deck. And how I play my Volcanic deck is that I just had basically a stall burn deck, alright? And a really good card to help it burn back in the days, especially when there's not a lot of outs to it, was a good old card. Started with an S, I had to scroll all the way down to this bloody thing. But Secret Barrel. Alright, Secret Barrel is a card that basically says afflict 2 points to your damage for each card in the hand and on each card they control. Alright. So this is a card I always kept secretly set or in my hand. against my friends, because basically first turn if you activate an opponent, it's going to almost guaranteed 1200. But if you keep control of it, because we played back the game, we used to set 5, have 5 in the hand, 2 or 3 monsters on the board. So I'll wait for that moment, then flip it. And those times I would burn my opponent for my friends for like 3k. Alright, that was stupid. 3k for real. Sometimes 2, sometimes like 2k. Still 3k at most was freaking funny as heck against my opponents. Even back then, we didn't know about the whole 8k life points, so we only played at 4k, because that's how the anime was. So any chance to do your opponent, your friend, like 2k to 3k damage was considered broken back in the schoolyard days, playing at home, without even knowing really how to play the game. But yeah, that's why I love this card. I remember back in the day, flipping my opponent for 2 to 3k randomly, and they were freaking out, saying, that card's broken, it needs to be banned. It definitely did not be because of a trap. But I remember in those days, is why I put my number 5. Alright, so that is my number 5 card. And for a similar reason is how we're going to get to our number 4 card. Alright, so I talked about trap card. Now I'm talking about basically the monster card, a bit of basically the same thing. So we need to go all the way back up to D, and we're at Des Koala. Again, I play Volcanic Burn, but I had this in there as Spicy Burn, because basically on my, well, let's say my turn, I go first, I'll just set Des Koala, some trap cards, pass. Alright, my opponent normally try to attack it, usually for setting anything. They would get flipped on them, and if they had 4 to 5 cards in the hand, 16 to 2,000 damage, they lost half the life points, basically. And for a solid 1,800 defense, it was even hard for an opponent to take it out. Especially next turn, I'd chew with like a Volcanic Hammer, or sometimes even a Jinzo. So, you know, it had its uses. Do some burn, and then get one of my boss cards out there. Alright. So, just like Secret Burial, back in the day, we only had 4k life points, which we thought we did. This card was filthy broken. They flicked on the opponent. It was always like a surprise card. They didn't know if I had this card. It made I set like a shell or something else. I even played like Giant Germ, Cyber Jar, Morphin Jar, a jar basically. If it was a jar card, I had it in my deck. So they didn't know I had a jar set, or if I had a Giant Germ set, they can pop quickly. Or if a Des Koala, which they wouldn't be able to usually run over of a monster. So it's just something I always had to think about, and always use this kind of get that quick burn. So now that I think about it, my Volcanic Burn deck is basically just a burn deck with a couple fire cards in it. Alright, so that's my number 4 spot. Now for number 3, let's get into that. Number 3, I already kind of talked about how it's a really broken card. That is going to be good old Royal Magical Library. This is a card I still run. I'm trying to make my cheesy Exodia deck. Basically, my cheesy Exodia deck is basically I normal summon Royal Magical Library, and then I activate like 20 spells, draw Exodia 1 turn. It's pretty efficient as long as you get in this card, so it's kind of funny how it's pretty efficient, but easily like one hand trap destroys the whole deck. But since it is kind of always kind of memed and how being basically a 1 card Exodia uses with a lot of spells, I'm putting up my number 3 spot. Now we're down to number 2, and number 2 is a card I talked a ton about when I first started this video. Back up in the D's, you know what it is, freaking Demotion. I still cannot get over this card. Downgrade. What the frick does downgrade mean in Yu-Gi-Oh? Yes, just because it says downgrade, it's my number 2 card. Which leaves me with 1 more spot, which is again still going to be in the D's. And this card is going to be a card that was probably one of my favorite normal summons in the game. Something that was actually my first deck I actually tried making, centered around him. Dark Blade. I thought this guy was the coolest son of a gun ever. Look at this guy. This guy's like Blade on weed off the shredder. I don't know what's going on. He was freaking awesome. Basically, I had a whole dark base deck that's boosted up my monsters, especially Dark Blade, with like Axe of Despair and so on and so forth. Had a bunch like a big bang shot to use piercing damage. Just try to just hit over my opponent. I just love the deck. Dark Crusader is another card, so Dark Blade, Dark Crusader. I even equipped him with the Pitch Dark Dragon to give him even that piercing damage and up to 2200 attack. That is stuff I dig. I just love the card. So due to nostalgia reasons, back in the day, playing at a basketball game on bleachers with this guy, summon him still, he's going to be my favorite card in this set. And with that, that's going to do it for the video. We have went through every single card, all 108 cards in this deck, and shared my top 5. And hopefully you shared your own top 5 in the comment section down below, so you can share it with everyone out there to see. And since it is the end of the video, I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like on my video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Guys, helps you support me, helps me make more videos for you to enjoy. Now, like the end of every single one of my videos, I hope the rest of the week is blessed, and I hope I see y'all again in the next video. And with that, I'm out.